Hey y'all, it's been a minute, but we're back with the jump off. We are here with a double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, where we talk about the last two episodes of season two and talk about what we are expecting from season three, which starts this weekend. This is Steph and Cat Talk Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, got
Hey y'all, like I said earlier, this is a new double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. I am, of course, your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of HWP Live, and co creator of this show, Steph and Cat Talk Wow, contributing writer for Daily DDT, and color commentator featured on various promotions. But of course, I am not alone. I am with my fabulous tag team partner. She is the creator of In Cat We Trust, co-creator of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, as well as contributing writer for Daily DDT, and a fabulous author in and of herself, and a super mom who has been super momming these past couple of weeks. And she is a backstage correspondent who deserves all the things and all of the love and all of the respect. She is Katrina. How are you, Kat?
I am okay. I've had better days, but I appreciate that intro as always.
Absolutely. I know it's been a minute because, of course, like I said, Katrina has been super momming. And then in the midst of her super momming, I've been celebrating my birthday because I turned 31 last week and I am so happy. Or depending on when you listen to this or when you watch this, 2 weeks ago, I'm 31 and I am so happy and, grateful to be alive and to be able to even do shows like this and to use my voice for good and all of the above. And stuff has been happening, but of course, we wanted to come on this weekend and talk about what's been going on here lately in the world of WoW Women of Wrestling Superheroes as they've reached the end of season two. We are here to discuss the last two episodes of season two as they get ready to intro season three. And of course, if you're here in the Alabama area, their episode has already or is already airing right now on My 68. And of course, depending on wherever else you are, you can go on wowe.com and look up the location of the channel for when it comes on for you. You can check it out. But season three is underway, and I am just so happy to be a part of the show, happy to even be covering it at this point, and just so excited for all of the new things that they have in store. So before we get started with the episode, I do want to mention some changes that are taking place in terms of season three. They did announce that they will be introducing a new championship in the form of the bus belt, that was said on an interview, I believe. And then on top of that, they have a new WoW superhero by the name of Paola Mayfield, who was a wrestler but also a reality TV show star on the show 90 Day Fiance, from the channel TLC. She will be making an appearance on WoW as well. And there's just so many other changes that we can come to expect. And I'm sure those will be surprises, but I'm just really pumped about it. This is going to be great. So, Katrina, how do you feel about what's to come in season three before we get started with the episodes proper?
Well, I mean, it seems like it's going to be some a lot of like new changes. It was mentioned when I interviewed Crush and Hoop Campbell that there's a new stage. And so, good stuff with that. We're getting some title belts. We've said we wouldn't mind some trios titles, and we got them. And so, I'm looking forward to that. There seems to be quite a few debuts, not just that one, but I saw a few pop up on social. There's quite a few debuts, and so I'm all for good debut, I'm all for like kind of like, ooh, let me see who I'm gonna add to people I'm like watching, see who gonna be a fave of mine. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. There are lots of new superheroes, and I love new production and new stages and stuff like that. So I just love when people take the time to creatively decide to evolve something into something bigger, because you can rest on laurels and not change. And then us as wrestling fans have a tendency to sort of fall into what's comfortable for us. And then the minute somebody shakes something up, we get kind of scared. And that's even now. I'm going to be quiet about it here, but it's just like, changes happen in life, but sometimes that's what you have to do, especially if you're looking to have a television show and looking to bring in new viewers and just make something that's just visually pleasing. And I'm just really happy that WoW continues to raise the stakes and raise the bar every single time. I am so excited, for this crop of new girls along with the girls that we are already familiar with. Like, it's just going to be amazing women's wrestling all around, and everything is just going to get shaken up. And I'm just so, 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 so excited. I can't get over it. I'm just so pumped. This is probably one of the best parts of my weekend. Is talking about the show and then watching what the new season is going to have in store. But before we rush into the new season, we got to talk about the last two episodes of season 2. This was an eventful season, to say the least. A lots of amazing things happened. We saw champions get crowned. We saw people get stabbed in the back. We saw friendships end. We saw tag teams get created. We saw all kinds of things in this second season. And it didn't stop with the last two episodes. So, the first episode we will recap is, of course, called Bills versus Belts, and this is episode 103. And this episode started with Lana Star coming out with Vicky Lynn McCoy and Miami Sweet Heat and cutting a promo, um, showing her and expressing her anger over the fact that the Mother Truckers, the Wild Tag Team Champions, have taken her hotel room and made this really large charge that she doesn't want to pay for, but at the same time claims that she could pay for if she wanted to because she has an amazing credit score and she just doesn't care about it. And then they showed a footage recapping everything that happened, and she was bragging about how she had an Amex card, and I'm just like, this is really giving, it's giving very rich, okay? And as a person who is still trying to figure out her relationship with money, just hearing everything that Lana had to say was just really insane. So the Mother Truckers came out there, after Lana was insulting them, and Big Rig Betty said, um hey, so you old vermins ain't gonna come out here and lie on us. I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all ain't lying on us. What is this? And then Holly said, this is a case of mistaken identity. They thought I was you, pretty girl. Oh, wait, that's a compliment considering all the work you got done. And I was like, so Holly is throwing shade at Lana Star by calling her pretty, but yet at the same time saying that she's had work done. Like, that was crazy. Um, then Lana said, I curse the day I ever met you two. Listen, I will eat that bill if you give Sweet Heat a title match. Otherwise, I'll just have you sent back to jail. They love threatening them with jail, don't they? And then Big Rig Betty said, wait, time out. So you want this raggedy you're too poor to pay bill versus our titles? That's what I'm hearing? Okay. And they both accepted the challenge, and Lana then called them hillbillies. It was crazy. And they accepted it and said honk honk. And so the main event of this episode that we're discussing now was going to be the Mother Truckers versus Miami Sweet Heat for the Wild World Tag Team titles. So Katrina, how did you feel about Lana Star um pimping and talking about all the money she's got going on, but yet not wanting to pay this bill and putting it over the Mother Truckers' heads?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. If we're gonna do all that and talking all this much like shenanigans, then I'm sorry, you back it up. You can't be like, I got money, but now you look like you worried for money, because I'm like, I thought you said you got money, sis. So I don't know. use those funds in whatever capacity, but don't be like, I'm all these things at the same time. Then you're saying the complete opposite of all that other nonsense. So which is it? Uh, like I said, I'm cool enough to an extent with some of the members of the Fab Four because they do engage in a lot of shenanigans. But to say that and you just starting already, like you trying to end season 2 on some nonsense, it's like, girl, ma'am, let's get that together. So I'm like, Lana, let's be better, be better than that, be better, because that's wild to say, and then the same breath say all of that at the same time. If you're truly for money, this wouldn't even phase you. Honestly, anybody who actually have money will say little things like that wouldn't even phase them. You know what I mean? Like this shouldn't even be something you concerned about because you got money, right, sis? So I was like, girl, now stop. Let's not do these shenanigans.
Yeah, it was just crazy. I was just like, you got all this money, but yet you're still throwing this in their face. I get being irritated. And I also get the idea that, they took advantage of something that was in your name and you want them to pay for it. But at the same time, if it really didn't matter to you all that much, then you probably should have just paid it. But I also think she was using this as a tactic to, fandangle her girls back into the tag title picture, which we keep saying. We're sort of tired of seeing Miami Sweet Heat in, but yet Lana just uses her negotiation powers to fandangle them in there. So that's just kind of how it went. But it was really funny how it was going on. And um, so yeah, that's what we have for the tag titles. Now this leads us into match number 1, where we have the Classmaster and Chainsaw, a very unlikely tag team, going up against the Fierce Sisters, Roxy and Foxy. Now this was very refreshing because I just love seeing Roxy and Foxy together. They just give me all kinds of life every time I see them. They're just dancing and being beautiful and black, and it's just so cool every time I see them. I just love them. But of course, Samantha Smart comes out and she has to run down the entire WoW universe. So she cuts a promo saying, "Thanks to my superior business and leadership skills, I know when to hold them and I know when to fold them." But I wonder, does she know when to walk away and know when to run? And does she ever count her money when she's sitting at the table? Sorry, I just got to quote the song. Um, and since you're all too stupid to count, let me point out to you that I am one team member short. Now I have been searching far and wide, doing my due diligence, something you have never done, and come to a conclusion. What we need is brute force. And so after that, she brings out Chainsaw. So the Fierce Sisters come out. They came out with their matching jackets and everything, and they just looked so pretty. Now the match started with Roxy, and of course, since we're still new to Roxy, as a Fierce Sister, we haven't really seen a whole lot of her in terms of singles work. But we've seen her mostly in tag team work. But she definitely held her own against the Classmaster because the Classmaster is just like this statuesque woman who's just super tall and super powerful. But then you have Roxy who was able to use her agility to duck and dodge everything that she was trying to throw at her. Like she would try to throw a punch, Roxy would move out the way. She would try to throw a kick, Roxy would duck it. Like it was just really cool to see her agility on display. But then of course the Classmaster, would get take advantage by pulling on her hair and attacking her into the corner and kneeing her in her abs and stuff. And then eventually, as the match kept going on, they began to isolate Roxy a whole lot. And of course, the numbers game was being played as Classmaster was out there with Chainsaw and Samantha Smart, and they were holding her back in the corner and, just keeping beating her up and attacking her. But then eventually, once she was able to tag in to Foxy, she gave an assisted drop kick, and then they gave strikes and kicks to Chainsaw. And she was looking, of course, to get back at Chainsaw for that attack that she put on her, and how she was out for months on end due to that. And Chainsaw tried to give a full Nelson to Foxy, but then Roxy was getting mad about it and getting very emotional. Um, but eventually, she got loose, and they actually hit a double crossface onto Chainsaw. And right when it looked like they were going to make Chainsaw tap out, Angelica Dante and Siren the Voodoo Doll come out there and attack the both of them, which means that the match ended in disqualification, which means the Fierce Sisters won by DQ. And eventually they finally got the upper hand and started beating up on the rest of them, and they were finally able to celebrate their victory. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this match and the way that it was going? And how do you feel about Roxy Fierce now that we've seen her wrestle a little bit more?
I enjoyed this match. I was kind of waiting for this because of the situation in particular with Chainsaw, who was involved in keeping, Foxy out for some months, and so I was kind of waiting for this. And as a fellow big sis, and as short as I am, 5'2", I'm again crazy big sis, even at my little small size. That I don't do well with people messing with my siblings, and so honestly, I'm like, that's right. The sister vibes. I understand. I'm the same way with my siblings that I'm very protective. And so I'm like, oh, we play it because we gonna play it, and if we do it, so I appreciate it, that regard of kind of like having Foxy and Roxy there to kind of handle that. I I like what I've seen for Roxy so far. I'm looking forward to see what she's doing next. And while I'm looking for, well, because excuse me, Roxy, well, what she's doing in while, and we both love some Foxy Fierce, and I was very sad that she was gone for a good extended period of time because of shenanigans. And so it's really kind of nice to kind of really see that, and that it ended with basically a celebration, which is what we needed. Because I was like, oh, like Chainsaw, I get it, understand, but relax. You don't gotta be so aggressive with everything all the time. It's take a minute. Take a minute to be just sitting here doing that to people. And so I was like, listen here. I know the saying is you root for everybody black. Well, I like me some Foxy. And so her sister is automatically just part of the squad because, like, ooh, you sister, so you part of the squad. So I was happy for it. I thought it, but I did enjoy the match. I thought it was good, but I'm more so just really happy for the like little bit of like revenge, but also just really excited to see what we're gonna get from both of the Fies sisters going forward.
Yeah, me too. And another thing that I just thought about is just the fact that you know how Samantha Smart was talking about how they needed brute force on their team because, of course, the disciplinarian is no longer a part of IQ Superior, and neither is GI Jane. I wonder if she thinks having Chainsaw be a part of the team was a mistake, considering there was a point where Chainsaw was sort of running with her brawn first, and then she actually knocked Classmaster off of the apron, and that was where the Fierce Sisters were able to actually, take advantage and almost make Chainsaw tap out because of that. Like a part of me wonders if Samantha is being sort of smart enough to understand that if she's going to have a good team, she's going to need brawn and brains as well. Because you can't just have someone, like Chainsaw, who's just going to go in with just her monster mentality and just barrel through everybody, including, her partners. So I'm wondering how that's going to work. But I was definitely excited to see the Fierce Sisters come out on top in that way. Um, I would love to see them go up against Miami Sweet Heat for the tag titles, if that's meant to be in the next season. But we just gotta wait and see. But I was very thrilled to see them both fighting, and to see them come out on top. It was really cool. I just hope that they don't get spells put on them by Siren and Angelica because they love to mess with people in that dark magic. So we just gotta wait and see what happens with that. So after that, we had another tag team match with Las Bandidas versus Chantilly Chella and Holidead. And something funny that happened before the match even got started was that Holidead and Chantilly was dancing out there like she normally does. And she has her cape and everything, and she tried to put it on Holidead, but Holidead was not feeling it. Okay. I think it's funny how opposite they are, but yet at the same time they work so well together. And that was fully on display in this match, considering both of them are like singles stars who decided to create a team going up against Las Bandidas, who has more of a tag team mentality. Holiday and Chantilly was definitely hauling all kinds of butt in this match. They were utilizing each other throughout, as weapons. Even from the beginning, Holiday even tossed Chantilly into Las Bandidas and even kicked them down. Like, I was just like, how is it that them as a tag team is working a little bit better than Las Bandidas is? It was insane. Of course, Las Bandidas wound up, getting the upper hand during a couple of parts of the match, but from the at least 80% of that match was definitely the advantage definitely went to Chantilly and Holiday. It was really insane to watch these two women operate the way that they were in the tag match. I was just like, yo, it was crazy. At one point in the beginning, you had Holiday even put Chantilly on her shoulders and spin her around the way that Terry Funk would, a ladder. It was just really insane and really cool to watch them um decimate Las Bandidas in that way. And finally, they were able to win the match after a basement double drop kick to both of the Banditas. Then Holiday and Chantilly hit a death drop electric chair onto Sylvia Sanchez for the win, and it was just really incredible. So big ups to the both of them for winning the match in such a dominant fashion and just having their tag team chemistry on lock. I really loved it. So yeah, Katrina, how did you feel about this tag team match, and how do you feel about the trajectory and the journey of Chantilly and Holiday throughout this season and up until now?
So when we first got that they were pairing up, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to knock it, but I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, because I didn't wouldn't have expected it, especially considering how what Holodead was doing previously, with Simon and Chainsaw, and so it's like I don't know how this is gonna play out. With that being said, as different as they are, I think they work amazingly together. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's conversation beforehand. I don't know if they've been having girl time, hanging out, doing bonding activities, whatever it is, it's working. I think they are so well together. I think and it was weird to an extent because I'm a firm believer normally that usually a team that worked longer together should have better communication, should have better chemistry. But it seems like Holiday and Chantilly really just have really good chemistry, even with their differences of style and how they wrestle. It still complement each other where they can still kind of use each other as well, even using themselves or using each other to like get a move in or to do a move or to get and I like that. And so I thought it was a good match, but I was very, very impressed. I mean, I've been impressed already with Holiday and Chantilly, but again, it was just like this. I'm like, oh, you would have asked me a couple of months ago if I would have thought this would have been a thing, I would have been like, man, please. And now here we are, me being, wrong in regards to I just didn't think it'd work. And clearly it's working. So I enjoyed it, but like I said, this is one of those pairings I did not expect to be a thing and to be a well-oiled machine, but it seems like it's working. And so I'm like, well, y'all keep doing it, y'all. Y'all keep doing the thing and working it out and stuff. And I'm gonna be still watching. Like, okay, sis.
Yeah, like it's just really insane to watch how good they are as a team now. Like I definitely would not have seen this on the horizon at all because it's easy to, place people together who share a whole lot of similarities. Like Chantilly and Foxy Fierce, you can definitely imagine them because they've been a tag team before. And they were dancing a lot. And you would think that, teams that have a lot in common would definitely work well together. But it's not often you see teams that have opposites of each other work well together too. But I think, there's just the whole opposites attracting. Like maybe Holiday has a little bit of light inside of her, violent and dark side that we don't really get to see that often that she sees in Chantilly. And maybe Chantilly has a lot of toughness that she sees in Holiday that's she's attracted to, and maybe that's what's going on. I mean, just on a friendly level, like that's just how it is sometimes. Like people just get each other even though, or just accept and respect each other even though they're different. And that's just the beauty of life, and maybe that's just the beauty of them as a tag team. Like it's really great. I enjoyed watching them. um in this way. It was very dominant and very cool. That's not to say Las Bandidas, like Angel and Sylvia, did not try their best, because they have been, and they've been trying to climb their way up the ladder for a while now. But at the same time, they're definitely going to have to get it together. And I'm wondering if them falling back down the ladder has anything to do with their mindset being that they feel like, oh, well, nobody can touch us. And also because they got rid of their only advocate. I just wonder about that sometimes. But I think we'll, here again, that's another thing we'll have to wait and see in the next season. But I loved watching Holidead and Chantilly tag with each other and just watching them, just kick butt. It was just really cool. So backstage, we did see an angry Mother Truckers before their match, and they were very upset about the idea that they had this match, and upset that they were being accused, and made out to be thieves or whatnot. But that's just how it goes. Anger bubbles over, but then of course they have to take it into their match, which will be main eventing in this episode. So this leads us to match number 3, which is, excuse me, Genesis versus Katarina Jinx. This was very unexpected, but also very interesting in the sense that you've never really seen these two fight each other before. And if they had, it was usually in tag team action. But of course, Genesis is on her solo world tour, and Katarina just decided to have this match, on her own. And it was really good. Like, I really appreciated the athleticism from both women in this match. I loved that even though Genesis tried to take Katarina down with a lot of ground and pound, Katarina was able to use her flexibility to move and maneuver out of certain submission attempts from Genesis. But then Genesis decided that she was going to get buck and attack her lower body and her lower extremities in terms of not Katrina's, Katarina's lower extremities, and just try to wear her down piece by piece. And that was a really good strategy from Genesis. And usually we see Genesis, kind of move to these desperate attempts in order to win these matches, but this time she didn't do that. Like, she seemed to trust more of her abilities this time in taking down her opponent. And she did that with Katarina here. Like, every time Katarina would try to get the upper hand on her, whether it's through, scratching, or whether it was through, being flexible on the ropes and everything, like Genesis would drop her legs into Katarina's injured knees and just take advantage of it, constantly. And she was able to reverse um wait, I'm sorry. Katarina was attacking Genesis's arms, but Genesis eventually reversed that into a slam into the mat in order to win the match. So Genesis did not have to cheat. She used her brute force in order to win, and it was a very strategic win nonetheless. So yeah, this match was really good. So Kat, how do you feel about Genesis' performance against Katarina?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I thought this was definitely a very hard hitting and good match as well. Um, I wasn't sure necessarily when I just realized this was going to be a match. I'm like, well, I don't really know how. I'm feeling sometimes you just when you see a match announcement, you're just like, okay, well, I'm curious how we got here. Just as far as the reasoning behind it. But I enjoyed it. I think that, like I said, I've grown to appreciate, Katarina in reference to when we first saw her, just of what she usually can do in the ring. But even with a little bit of the arrogance that Genesis has, because she definitely has some arrogance. I thought she did well. I think this was a good match where she can literally show off the things that she can do. So the things that she may have, you know, bragged about or said that this is why she should have been leader of exile or why this should have happened in XYZ. I think she definitely did show it in this match again that I can kind of see why she might be a little bit more conceited about certain things because, well, look what you're doing. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't be confident, but sometimes it definitely comes off of a level of arrogance that's not necessarily a nice arrogance. But I think that again, I can see why she kind of like, okay, well, I'm this, I'm this part of WoW, whatever the case may be. I can see it. I thought she did a really, really good job. I wasn't surprised with the win only because I thought she really, I don't know if it's like more so having something to prove because I felt like she did prove a good chunk of things. It just kind of fell apart because of a bit of an, ego. And I felt like it fell apart. That it might have been, a little better if she maybe been a little bit more respectful to her teammates, um, and be a little nicer to her teammates. But with that being said, I still think she really delivered in this match, and she got a win. So it's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And I think you brought up an excellent point in the fact that Genesis, like we were mentioning a couple weeks ago, like when she was going up against Princess Aussie, she talked so much stuff only for her to lose. And it's just, I feel like you can be very arrogant and you can be confident and talk a whole lot of stuff and talk yourself up of a big game. But if you don't prove it, then all of that is just hot air. So I feel like maybe Genesis went back to the drawing board a little bit and just decided that if she was going to face off against Katarina, then then it was definitely time for her to prove it. Like you can't just talk trash and talk about how much better you are than people, how much better you are than Princess Aussie and Exodus and Ice Cold, only for you to lose or only for you to just, try and cheat and win. This time she was very strategic in her plan in taking down Katarina because we've seen Katarina win tag team matches and singles, competition, with her flexibility and with her submissions and stuff like that and her mind games. And Genesis wasn't having any of it. She seemed a bit more focused. And that's something that I can grasp onto a little bit more outside of you just talking about how you need to be the top girl only to fall down and be at the bottom. Like it made no sense. So hopefully this means in the future we'll see her rise up a little bit more, and hopefully we'll see Katarina rise up a little bit more. I keep wanting to call her Katrina. I'm sorry. It's just extra A's. But it's just Katarina needs to rise up a bit more on her own as well. But either way, this match was really good. I enjoyed it. It was very physical, and I appreciate it for both women. But Genesis really did show and prove here, and I appreciated it. So after this match, we had a backstage segment with Lana Star and Miami Sweet Heat, and let me just tell you, I'm jealous. I never thought I would say this on the show, but I'm jealous of Lana Star's couch and her pillows and her phone. Because if you've seen anything that she does backstage, she has like kind of like this old school phone where you pick it up and then you do the rotary thing and you just hold it up like this. And then on top of that, she has these wow pillows. And I've seen these pillows before because they had them in the first season where they have the logos and stuff and they have some of the girls on the pillows and it's just like, bro, I'm gonna need for WoW to come out with a pillow line because every time I see them, I just want them so bad. They just look so yummy and so cute, and I'm just like, oh my god, why? So yeah, I'm jealous of the Fab Four's locker room. I want to be in it, even though they're all very arrogant, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like me per se. But I just love their locker room. It's just so pretty and so cute. But in the midst of all of that, Lana was able to make the deal with David that, of course, the Bills versus Belt match would still be going on. And Miami Sweet Heat was definitely confident that they were going to get the win here. So, basically, if Miami Sweet Heat won the titles, that meant that Lana did not have to pay the bill. And of course, that means that the Mother Truckers do. So, this leads us into our main event. Miami Sweet Heat versus the Mother Truckers for the Wild World Tag Team titles. And of course, shenanigans were afoot because Lindsay and Lori did not come out there alone. They came out there with Lana, Penelope, and Vicky Lynn. And for those who watch this show, you probably know exactly how this went. And that's no shade to Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag because they definitely did try their best to retain those tag team titles. They really did. They fought tooth and nail and all of the above. And there is another part that I do have to mention before the match got started. Nigel Zane on commentary brought out a piece of women's wrestling history. And he held up a women's championship from 1949 And something that a lot of people might not know about Nigel Zane is the fact that he is a women's wrestling historian, and he collects lots of different historic items from women's wrestling from the past and even the present. You know, maybe he'll open a museum one day, who knows. But he brought this belt and he just told a little bit of the significance and the history of it, because of course this is leading into another championship match, so I did appreciate that. And it's also insane when you look back on how small championships for men and women looked back then in comparison to how they look now. Oh my God, they're so big and fabulous and gaudy. But you know, back then, you know, they took what they had and made the best out of it. And just seeing the title just sort of from 1949 just sort of, you know, lets you know how far we've come in terms of the evolution of wrestling as a whole, as well as women's wrestling. Because yeah, it puts it into perspective for you. So this match was a good back and forth. um, Big Rig Betty started off. Actually, Betty and Holly started off as in a brawl with the Carlsons, and eventually there was one point where Holly was actually scrapping a lot of the time with the Carlson sisters, but eventually the Carlsons kept getting the upper hand with their frequent tags and their tag team chemistry. And Big Rig Betty was trying to fight back, but then the Carlsons kept spearing her into their corner. There was a point where Holly was able to tag in and hit the hitch and ditch clothesline, but after she hit the clothesline, this is where the shenanigans started. Lana got up and distracted the referee, and in the midst of the ref getting distracted before the pin could even happen, Vicky Lynn grabbed one of the Wild Tag Team titles and clunked Holly over the head with it and shuffled out of the ring. And one of the Carlson sisters covered her up for the 1, 2, 3. And our new historic 4-time Wild World Tag Team Champions are Miami Sweet Heat, Lindsay and Lori. And that's how that episode ended. Yeah, cheating, shenanigans went down. We have new champions. The mother truckers are no longer champions. They now have to pay that hotel bill, all of the sadness. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the way this match went? And just express yourself.
Man, look, like I said, I can respect the Fab Four in instances. I can, but it's just I don't understand how they got another title shot. I don't understand how they just like lost things and got back into the line. I don't understand how the referees, for whatever reason, never seem to can see the shenanigans that goes on in Wild Rings. Like y'all just be watching everything but what you need to watch. I don't understand. Like, do y'all need like a social media app so you can be aware when it first go down to maybe pay attention or something? I don't understand how that happened. I'm like, oh, we're doing this. So we do have new champions. Shouldn't be. I do think it shouldn't be. I don't even think that should have been the match to get out of a hotel, but that is crazy business. Like, imagine every time I want to get out of something, let me tell like my cable company, well, if I fight some random employee, am I good on the bill this month? Like, if I win, like, if that's what we doing? So, like, I don't know. I don't know how that was the thing, but the fact that not only did they get out of paying a bill, they also got new championships again, which is crazy business. It's just crazy work. And so that's unfortunate. You know, like I would have preferred if you're gonna win it without cheating. And there was a lot of cheating happening, and it was nonsense happening. So I can't even say that you guys earned this win. Because did you? I would say no. You hadn't earned this. You cheated. You can't even do that by yourself. You had to have people helping you out. How great of a tag team can you be if you gotta have assistance? Personally, that's what I would say. You know, this is why I don't wrestle. This is why I'm here instead. Because I'm like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, girlies. Like, you're great, but you cheated, so you're not that great. That would just be me, you know, if I was in wrestling, but not. So I mean, it was a fine match and all, but it was really unfortunate that it was a lot of nonsense happening and they wound up becoming champions again. I just want to know why. there's other tag teams. I just need WoW to like. I'm sorry, am I missing the memo? Let's get some other teams in the fray. Let's throw some in there. We don't need Miami Sweet Heat for 10 times. And again, this is not in shade to them. It's just like you have some teams. You have people like we just said earlier, Holidead and Chantilly Chella. I mean, they're working well. You got the Mighty Mites ain't working well. You don't want them in there. Why is it always Miami Sweet Heat? How do they magically keep ending up as champions? It's crazy work. So yeah, it was fine, but I was very annoyed with that end.
Yeah, I understand because it seems like the tag teams of WoW, with the exception of Lindsay and Lori, have to do all this work to sort of climb themselves back into the title picture, only for them to just get fandangled in somehow. And it's just like, bro, like, how does it keep happening? It's like, even when they're in the back of the line, for all intents and purposes, they're never truly in the back of the line. And then you have David, as much as we love David here on this show, he sees the shenanigans and does not reverse anything. He has the power to reverse decisions the way that any type of manager would, like an Adam Pierce or a Nick Aldis, but yet he doesn't do it. And it's just like, bro, I understand it's the ref's decision, but at the same time, if you see that the ref is compromised, because that's what happened, Ben was distracted. Ben got distracted by Lana, which means that his back was turned, and Vicky took advantage of that. So with all of that going on, with his vision being compromised, you saw all this going on commentary. Why didn't you speak about it and reverse the decision and make the girls continue to fight? I understand that there is an hour constriction, but the same way these other shows be going a little bit over their hour, you could go a little bit over your hour, or at the very least, let the match go into the next episode so we can have a definitive winner that's clear. Like, I really want David to put more of his foot down this season, or at the very least, like, get um a female general manager to say, no, this isn't okay. Y'all need to chill. This isn't fair. Like, that's just something I need, someone else who can definitively lay down the law. And I've said this before, but I just want to say that again. Like, we need a definitive law layer. And I know that's not a word, but I'm making it up today. We need a definitive law layer in WoW. So, yeah, as unfortunate as it is to a degree that Miami Sweet Heat are the tag team champions again, we can't take away the fact that they have made history. In the entire history of WoW, there have never been 4 time tag team champions. So I think that is great. But it sucks when you think about how they started and how they started off being so amazing and not having to cheat. So, and now here they are just taking any type of way to win the titles. It you really hate to see it, but Lindsay and Lori are trying to get it how they live, so whatever. And I'm more than sure that that's not going to change within the next season. So that's the end of that episode, which is, of course, Bills and Belts. And now we're going to move into this next episode, which is the season 2 finale. Oh my God, the season 2 finale, which was a little bit of a newer episode with newer matches, but also more of a recap and fan appreciation episode, which I did appreciate a whole lot. Um, as a fan and as a host and everything. So the WoW season 2 finale started with Animal Instinct Katarina Jinx back in tag team action with Goldie Collins going up against the Tonga Twins. Another warm memory and sweet moment that we get to have with Ashley and Stephanie. Goldie and Katarina cut a promo saying, "It's always so great to meet our fans. I've heard some murmurings around here. Some say it's a certain David McLean. They're saying we should feel honored to be wrestling the Tonga Twins tonight." This is Goldie. "I think they should feel honored to be wrestling the most dynamic and interesting team in the league." Then Katarina says, "Now, calm down. The thing about twins is that they have a sixth sense about them. I guess that means we have something in common with them too. However, the thing about twins is that they may be connected, but that doesn't mean that they don't have fear. And we can sense it because sense it, because we have animal instinct. So after they cut that promo, Ashley and Stephanie come out there, and as they make their entrances, Katarina and Goldie start jumping on them immediately, which I think is a pretty smart strategy for all of maybe a few minutes. Because, of course, Ashley and Stephanie are very dominant women. So, of course, if you start jumping on them, they're going to knock you off. So it was okay. And then Ashley and Stephanie fought back and then splashed them in their corners. They had double chops to Katarina's chest, and they blocked a clothesline, but then Goldie actually gave a backstabber to one of the Tonga twins, and then Katarina hit a sling blade and a head scissors to one of the twins, and then Goldie hit a side effect kick, and then she said, "I told you to stay," as if they were animals. It was insane. um then Katarina actually locked up one of the twins in a submission called the cat tree submission, of course, which puts you in the mind of those cat trees that cats be climbing on top of and scratching and jumping off of and all the things. But eventually, the twins fought back with headbutts, and then eventually another tag came in and they slapped Goldie down, and one of the twins hit a Samoan drop for the win. And the Tonka twins wound up winning. So this was really cool. I really appreciated seeing Ashley and Stephanie in action in this episode. It was very heartwarming, to say the least. After everything that has gone on in this season and stuff, with them being champions, and then of course them losing, but them still fighting, and them being one of our favorite tag teams to watch. So it was just really cool. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match?
I thought it was a good match. We here very we are fans of the Tongas, and so it's always good to see the matches that we know are basically the end of their time, and wow. And so that is like, oh, the more we know we're getting closer to that what's going to be the last match. And so that I think it's one of those like bittersweet things. It's like, oh, like yay, but oh, it makes you sad. And like I said, I can understand why the reasoning and deciding to do what's best. And I'm a firm believer, do what works best for you. If it protects your peace, you do what you need to do. Self-care first. um it's still very bittersweet, just because, like I said, for me, the tag team aspect, there were probably two of the women there that I gravitated to right away, just of how dominant they were. And I'm a firm yay yes person, a woman to women of color, obviously Black women, but I say women of color because now we have the aspects of seeing you know women of color we didn't necessarily get a chance to see when I was like a kid. And so you're seeing more of that in promotions. And so it's always just a very special place, because they were definitely one of my faves from day one. We started watching. I was like, oh, I like that. I like they're dominant, they're pretty, they can do what they need to do. I like that. And so it was a good match though. But again, it's just a bit bittersweet because, like I said, we're basically getting to the end of that, and that makes me very sad that it had to be the way it is. Uh, just from a fan standpoint, like I said, I understand. But as a fan, like, no, you know. Obviously, I hope whatever is next for them, goes well. But it's still just more of me being semi-selfish in a way that, as a fan watching, they were one of my top faves. But otherwise, with my sentiments aside, I did truly did enjoy the match. I thought it was a really well done match. And again, this Goldie and Katarina was also a pairing. I wasn't too sure where they were doing with it or where they were going with this, but it works. I do think it works. I do think they work well together. And I'm also very excited to kind of see what else we're gonna get from them, because they definitely I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And it's not even a cat and dog thing. It's like y'all two very different ladies. But it works. And sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you need a little bit of, yin and yang to make a thing work. And I think they do.
Bless
Excuse
you.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I get it. Like it is sort of bittersweet in the sense that you're that we know that we're getting to the point where we're watching their last few matches. And it's even more bittersweet when you think about the fact that when we first started covering WoW, we gravitated to them rather quickly because they were so beautiful and because they were so tough and because, whenever I see women like that, I just sort of imagine them on the biggest possible stage. Even from where they are now, I just imagine them on the biggest possible stage. And ever since, they made their decision, that we do definitely respect, I've been waiting on them to show up anywhere. Like anywhere. Like there's a part of me that has this deep, dark fantasy booking thing that wants them to be a part of the Money Corporation so bad on AEW. Like I'm just waiting for them to just pop up somewhere, just so I can say that, we knew them when and and then we can just support them from there. And I just can't wait for that to happen. I'm believing in my heart that that can happen for them because they just have it. But even in seeing the last few matches, it's still, amazing to see them be so powerful and just represent, the group of people that they represent. It's just everything about them is just so powerful, and I just want the world for them, like, so 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 much. Like Ashley and Stephanie, like, if no one else loves you, know that we love y'all so much. And we've really been with them like since the beginning, and now we're reaching the point where we're growing, they're growing, and they've grown out of this space. So hopefully we can see them, in other wrestling spaces the more that they continue to grow and find, what's best for them in their lives. But yeah, just I never get tired of watching them wrestle. And I just want to see them wrestle again on a much larger platform, the way that I've always imagined for them. Um Even though I know, of course, I'm not in charge of that because I'm not, an all supreme being that can just make stuff happen like that. All I can do is just hope and wish in my brain and in my heart. And then, the universe can meet me there if it chooses to. But yeah, this match was really good. I never get tired of watching Goldie and Katarina. Those are two people who I was very surprised to fall in love with in this season. Goldie continues to grow as a wrestler and just continues to just become a villain that's just so snooty and just so funny to me. And her and Katarina just work well together, and I've just enjoyed watching them, and hopefully we get to see more of them. But the way that they operate as a tag team, it's just really cool for me. So they never stop, being interesting. Like they may have, been arrogant by calling themselves interesting, but they are very interesting. I can say that. But, the Tonga twins are the Tonga twins and they barreled right through them. So big ups to Ashley and Stephanie always. And yeah, we're going to keep watching them and keep supporting them no matter what. So after that match, there was a surprise that David had for us, and it was the fact that there wasn't just gonna be a one fan appreciation night match. There were going to be two. So, of course, if you got a chance to comment and vote under lots of videos and stuff, you got to vote for your favorite matches along with the panel that included Jeannie Buss and two others whose names are escaping me right now. They chose the matches for Fan Appreciation Night. And the second match on this episode was The Beast versus Abilene Maverick for the Wild World Championship. And this was the one where Abilene Maverick cheated with those brass knuckles and planted them on the Beast and made it seem like she cheated in order to beat her so she could still hold on to the Wild World title and come up with all types of I'm injured shenanigans in order to hold on to the title until they went back and saw the tape and realized that Abilene Maverick planted them and the Beast got her rematch and now she's the Wild World champion. But of course, Abilene Maverick came back in the last few episodes and basically pulled a prank via Jesse Jones onto the Beast and had her attacked by a group of people with her title and said that Karma was a bitch. So that was the last we've really seen of the Beast in this season. And I'm just wondering how that's going to turn out and how that's going to play into things, considering Jesse feels that she should be the number one contender, and then there's another number one contenders match happening in the first episode of season 3. But it was interesting watching that match again. So yeah, um, Kat, how did you feel watching that back and seeing that match feed into where we are now in the season?
I'm not sure why people wanted to root for that match of all the matches, but voting for a match that Abilene was in, it's like, why? Why are we voting for shenanigans, fans? I just want to know where the headspace is. Because why are we voting for shenanigans? This was shenanigans. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that nonsense in the poor the beast being who she is and Abilene just coming in doing shenanigans. I appreciate seeing that. I was like, oh, I mean, okay, I guess this will begin. Yay for us because I am a fan, but also I'm looking at y'all sideways for even voting for this. I'm looking at y'all real sideways that this was the match I wanted to see again. Why? Why? Y'all know my feelings about Abilene Maverick. I just cannot accept her shenanigans. She's for me what Penelope is for you. I can't accept her shenanigans. And so I was like, oh. But with that being said, I am glad that if all is said and done, the Beast is to champion, as she should be. As she should have been in the first place, to be fair. Um, and so I was like, well, even though it was some nonsense and tomfoolery afoot, we still got the belt where it was supposed to be. And so I can take this refreshing refresher of nonsense that annoyed me when it first happened because I know as of right now, the Beast is champion. And so I can accept this memory of annoyance for knowing that it led to the Beast being champion again.
Yeah, I get it, and I totally get it because that wasn't one that I voted for. Like I said a few episodes ago, that my match that I was putting myself out there for was the trios title final tournament match between top tier with the formation of them and Exile. That was my favorite moment of the year because honestly, that was just one of the best well executed heel turns that I had ever seen. So that's the one that I voted for, but it's okay. I was outvoted clearly, and I didn't mind it because I was just like, okay, people have different favorites for different reasons. But watching it back, really did put everything into perspective. If it's one thing that WoW does deserve credit for is its form of storytelling. They still make everything make sense, and make everything click because all of that happening in that match with the brass knuckles and with Abilene Maverick just ducking and dodging the Beast leads to the Beast being champion now. And it also leads to Abilene and Jesse Jones staging that attack. And it just makes you wonder, how is the Beast going to retaliate against them in the future? Because they're going to get it. And it also makes you wonder if the Beast is actually going to have a team member to also help even the odds. Like there's just so many questions as to how, the Beast as the Wild World Champion could get back at them for that attack because that was a very vicious attack out of nowhere. And that's the second time she's been attacked that way. So I can only imagine, her anger and her frustration from that. And then it just puts a lot of the Wild World title stuff into question because Jessie, claimed that she wanted to fight her, but then it was all a trap. Abilene is still, somewhat injured because when last time we saw her, she was in a wheelchair. There's just so much to think about and so much to look forward to in this season when it comes to the Wild World title. But, we'll get our answers later. But holy cow. Um, it's really interesting how it all ties into where we're at now. So after that, they showed a newer match, which is, of course, match number 3, which is the Classmaster versus Santana Garrett. And of course, Samantha Smart cuts another promo. She says, "Oh my, the idiots are in full force tonight." I said, "Oh my." I'm sorry, that's not how she says my. I'm sorry. Um, my southern woman is coming out. You see, I'm here to help you. Illiteracy remains a significant issue in the United States. In fact, over 57 million IQ inferior individuals struggle with functional literacy. And this made me feel sad because I was just like, first of all, how are you coming for people and just assuming that these folks don't know how to read? Um, why does this sound like a political commercial? Samantha's running for president. Um, we're here to donate our time to charity. We're here to help you all in our fight for literacy. Is that a tax write off? I don't know. We are here to prove a point. We are here for literacy, and we are going to help one stupid American at a time. And what better place to start than with the most American girls on the roster? And this was like her long roundabout way of throwing shade at the all American girls. So I was just like, oh, so now you're assuming they don't know how to read. Okay. And Santana came out there with Americana, and I was really glad because please even up the odds with these women because they love to cheat. Um, and as both women locked up, Classmaster pushed Santana into the corner. Um, Classmaster definitely had the strength advantage in this match when it came to pushing Santana around and just sort of, slamming her and suplexing her. But then Santana tried to fight her, a number of times, but Classmaster was just looking kind of unfazed by it because, Classmaster is a big and imposing girl. So if you try to
Yeah.
come at her with like little punches, she's just gonna be like, what is this? It's crazy, but that's just how the Classmaster is. She's a powerhouse. She was knocking down Santana, and then Santana was, trying to use her quickness to try to get the upper hand on her. Um, Classmaster was submitting her with a bookmark and a scholar collar and giving all kinds of clubbing blows and a leg drop. But eventually, as the Classmaster tried to hit another leg drop, she moved out of the way and Santana just started punching back. And she hit a very impressive backhand spring and a slingshot forearm for a 2 count. And Santana tried to submit her out one time, but then Samantha tried to distract, but then she wound up hitting the Classmaster with the ruler, and Santana popped Classmaster in the face with a super kick for the win. So Santana Garrett won the match, and Samantha, with all of her interference, actually wound up losing her girl Classmaster a match. So, oh, Katrina, how did you feel about this match?
I mean, it was good. I'm kind of with you when you were saying like with Classmaster. I felt like I've said it hundreds and hundreds of times, doing well, but like I'm a firm believer if you got the size, use it. Use your size. And so, while it's in that regard of one way, like, yeah, use your size, but in the other way, if you're kind of smaller than somebody who has some size, you might have to put a little more effort into how you approach an opponent who has some size and knows how to use that size. And so I'm kind of with you in that way. I'm like, girl, like you better let's listen. I'm a tiny person, and so I like jokingly like, I mean, I'm tiny, but I'm like crazy tiny, and so like, but like when you have a situation, I'm not dumb, I don't know if I would necessarily go in a match with Classmaster being like, let's do this, looking wild. I wouldn't do that. I got to be more smart about it. I mean, I might have to be heelish. I wouldn't do that though. I feel like I would be a heel wrestler. To be fair, um, I talk too much smack to be face. I really do, but I thought it was a good match. But it's one of those things also just with Classmaster because when you get introduced to somebody new for the first time, you're kind of not sure what to expect. You're not sure what you're going to get out of a person when you're getting a debuting person for the first time. And while I don't particularly like her methods in some regards, I have to say she's quite impressive. Like she like I could say what I say about certain things, but she is very impressive, and I'll give Samantha that. You put up, even if I don't like what they did with GI Jane, I can respect that. You got three girlies before GIG left. You got three girlies with some size to them. You got three girlies that can toss somebody across the ring. And those are the kind of vibes, like, it's like my my Rhea. Just throwing people across. That's why you throw people across the ring, or this wrestler who I tell her all the time she's great because she literally can just toss men, and I'm like, yes, do all the tossing. Sammy Chaos. So like I like that. Do what you need to do. Toss people. And so like even if I don't particularly like some of the methods, I can truly say I do appreciate somebody using their size to their advantage and being able to toss people like bag of ice. That's usually the saying I go. You just you know what I mean when you like break ice. It's like looks real aggressive because you're trying to get the ice a certain way and ice ain't icing the way you need to ice. That's 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 what she's able to do to people. She can toss them, and I'm like, yes, girl. Like, listen, I don't know, but also, yes, girl, do you? But it was a good match. I did enjoy.
I envy people who can just lift up a bag of ice and just break it. Like I envy them because it's just they're just so strong and they can just like it's just yeah, and definitely the Classmaster looks like that type of woman. Like if you ask her to break like a couple bags of ice, she could definitely do it. Like she's strong. Like I follow her on Instagram and she was actually lifting a couple of weights somewhere on a beach, and that woman is definitely strong. So she could definitely do that. And yes, if you have the size, use it, and she definitely isn't shy about it. So big ups to Classmaster for that. She's becoming one of my favorites little by little. Um each time, and I can't wait to see more of what she has to give in this next season. Like she's hysterical in the fact that she'll tell you to read a book and she goes with just about everything Samantha says, but when she gets in that ring she becomes real serious about it, and I just really love it. And just because she's big, she doesn't just use that as a crutch. Like she can get down and dirty with the rest of them, and submit you out just as good as any other wrestler, that uses that as their base. And I appreciate that with the Classmaster. I wonder who will win in a match between her and Charlotte Flair. That would be interesting. Um, but it would just be really cool. And she just impresses me every time I see her. And I just love her outfit because it's just yellow and it just reminds me of Clueless. But she's not Clueless though. But Santana Garrett, she is an OG and she just continues to rise above. And I just love watching her wrestle too. So the way that she was able to fight and get the upper hand over Classmaster when it looked like in the beginning of the match she wasn't going to was just really cool. And here again, I'm wondering if the Classmaster will feel as if Samantha Smart is holding her back because Samantha was the reason why she lost. Like I'm wondering how that's going to work in the future. Will the Classmaster just break off on her own and just be her own woman because everyone has essentially left Samantha? Who's to say the Classmaster won't? So, yeah, it's just really interesting stuff. But I enjoyed the match very much. So, they did show a preview of what's to come in season 3 and we did talk about that and we're just really excited about it. Um, so the next fan appreciation match turned out to be the Mother Truckers versus Miami Sweet Heat for the WoW World Tag Team Championship, and it was the no DQ hardcore match. And they did a recap of all the moments where the Carlsons basically cheated their way up in order to win the titles for the third time, and how the Mother Truckers were finally able to get their opportunity to win with this extreme match. And one of the greatest highlights of this match for me was watching Lori, who tends to be the twin who loves to fly in the air more, do a coast to coast onto Holly with the trash can. Like that is just one of the amazing parts of that match and just one of the amazing clips of WoW period. I feel like if you're going to let somebody watch WoW for the first time, you need to show them that clip alone. Um and that will give you a respect and give you an idea of what you can get because Lori, as much crap as we give her for being a part of Fab Four, she is not afraid to fly in the air and destroy you from there. And just the amount of times that we've seen that happen is just really insane. So, yeah, this match was very extreme. They were hitting each other with signs and all of the things. And this is where the Mother Truckers were able to win the tag titles for the first time and become the first mother daughter duo in WoW history to win those tag titles, which of course they just lost. in the episode prior to Miami Sweet Heat again due to shenanigans. But that wasn't a no DQ extreme match. That was just a regular match with Bills. So yeah, that was the match that they ended that episode with, and we've ended season 2. So Katrina, how did you feel looking at that episode, that match again, in conjunction to where we are now?
Well, it was cool. It is fitting that they replayed that match. After the end of the last episode, basically had that change hands with the same two teams. It just changed hands. And so again, and so it just basically Uno reversed its way back to the other team. And so in that retrospect, you did have what can be considered a like historic moment as far as having a like a mother and daughter team winning a tag titles and being a team in that way. But then it basically is like, oh, this is where we started. But the episode previously kind of was like, well, that changed. Even with Noctis, it did change. And so in that respect, it was cool to just kind of like, oh yeah, well, this obviously was a long enough ago because we're now about to be, season 3. But it also doesn't feel that long ago, but clearly it was because we are on season 3, and so clearly some time has passed. And so in that respect, it's like, man, look what I guess time flies when you're having fun, or times fly when things are good, or that's the way I want to say that. So it was cool in that respect to see, but it's also one of those things that's like, oh well, this is nice to see, but also they're no longer champions. So it's like, oh, okay. I don't know. Me just being, if I was again a wrestler and I want to be a little heelish, I'm like, I'm sorry, are you like gloating that I've lost? But that was just me again. If I was being a heel, I'm not, a wrestler. But it was a nice little, I guess, way to end season 2 as far as fan appreciation, just because the last episode, the last actual episode, which was new matches per, not necessarily with like repeat matches, was a change again, where we had literally change hands again between these teams. And so, if anything, it says that as much as Lana talking pure shenanigans, it just says that, well, in some respect, even with their cheating, there are still they're still champions 4 times, and that's something in itself. As crazy as they got it, or as much nonsense as they did to get that accolade, it is still a fact either way. So
Yeah, it's pretty insane how full circle that is, just with them having that fan appreciation and having to lose the titles to the same team. Like, it's just really crazy how full circle that is. But yeah, it was very poetic to see that match again in conjunction with what we just saw in the last episode. I love that this episode was a combination of matches that we did see and matches that we hadn't seen before, and then just the fan appreciation component of it. I really loved that, and it's sort of a creative way to just not do like a recap thing, because usually when a season is ending, like they'll do like a recap show, or they'll just do like this finale where everything falling apart and it leaves you on a cliffhanger and you don't know what's going to happen until it comes back months from now. Thankfully, the thing about WoW is they tape very far in advance, so our new season starts immediately. So we know what's about to take place this weekend, and we kind of know what's going to happen this weekend, and kind of know what to expect with a lot of newness to it, and I'm just really happy about it. So that brings us to the end of our double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow. We have officially ended and capped off season 2, but before we end everything, Katrina, I have to say, um, this weekend especially, that I think it's fitting that this new season is starting, because just last year we started this show, and at this very same time. And I am so happy we did this. I'm so happy, we took that leap of faith and did our own thing, and we're still covering this show and still talking about how much we love women's wrestling as a whole, not even just on here, but also just women's wrestling as a whole, and it's just really great to see how we've both grown over the year. And I am just so happy that we get to continue to talk about WoW in this new season. Now, of course, life changes happen. We have jobs, we have Katrina has a family that's growing and going through all types of different changes, and I'm going through changes myself, professionally and all of the above. But we have decided that we will be doing a season 2 of Steph and Cat Talk Wild in conjunction with season 3 of Wild Superheroes. And I am just so proud of us. I'm so proud of us because not only have we done this show, we've been able to talk to the girls, offer the girls a safe space, work with each other, work out with schedules and understand where we are in our different lives. And I just wanted to take this moment out to just say, I'm proud of you and the person you've become. And I'm proud of me and I'm proud of this show we've created. And I just can't wait to do more of this with you. So, yeah, I just wanted to say
Oh, thanks. It get me a little emotional. No,
that.
yeah, it last year was crazy. Definitely wasn't on my, as the saying goes, wasn't on my bingo card for 2023. Well, a lot of things wasn't, but um, I really didn't know what the plan was at first. To be fair, because it was a lot. It was literally a lot. I had a process of all of that, but I am glad we did continue it, and I am glad to the point where we were even wondering like we would even be able to talk to any of them anymore, because we were kind of starting from scratch, in a way, and so it was nice that it took a little bit of work, to get back in contact, with the proper people to get that stuff done, but um I am glad that we did, and I am glad that even in gimmick, when they're doing these even with the interviews, and yes, that is to you ladies, let you guys know, Coach and Crush, that is y'all. That was all talking a lot of stuff in the interview I just did, but the fact that we are like even being comfortable, as I've always said, it's very hard for me not to feel nervous about things sometimes, and like now it's like I feel like I know them enough that either one of us can do it alone if needed. And it's not like, oh no, the person's not with here. If I have to bounce off this person, I don't necessarily do that anymore. You don't necessarily need to do that anymore in regards to like we know one of us will have it done kind of vibes. And I think that's something that came about because we decided to kind of just go off and on. So and do what worked, and it does work. And I am glad, that we get to watch them. I told them I it's so cool that I'm hearing where people are watching WoW and where people are interested in WoW. People have said, "Oh, you guys are the reason I wanted to check out WoW," and that you have a locker room full of women who can no matter the type of wrestling you kind of might like. And I feel like there is somebody back there in the locker room who fits every style you can probably think of in some way. And so that's just cool to see. Again, we didn't really have any women wrestling fans, we didn't really have a lot of women wrestling put in the forefront without it being some kind of weird stuff. And you know what I mean? Before you go, what do you mean, Katrina? You know exactly what I mean of stuff, you know, Attitude Era, anyone, and I'm an Attitude Era fan, but let's call a spade a spade. There's a lot of nonsense going on during then for women that was wrestling at the time, and they weren't really allowed to thrive and shine the way they really could. And we're getting that now in different aspects and different promotions, but in this particular, in WoW, it's all women's promotion. And so I'm glad that we get to do this. Yay to another season, and yay to another season for us as well. But yes, I'm also very grateful for you. Well, you're definitely the nicest of the two of us because, like, I'm kind. I'm not necessarily always nice. I am kind. But I don't. My tolerance level is a lot lower than yours probably is in certain aspects, and so I feel like in a way it does balance out in regard that I'm quick to be like, "Excuse me, I got this," and you're like, "Let's be more clear headed about it." But I'm ready to like, let's go because like who's playing games. I do think it does work in that aspect that I couldn't picture myself doing this show with anybody else. So thank you as well for being my co-host. for
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just appreciate the fact that are always ready to go cuz cuz like it just takes a lot for me to be on go. Like it just takes a whole lot. And it's just, I'm just happy that we have each other. And, it's just going to be great. And this season of Wow, I'm just very excited about. There's so many more women who get to shine. And that's just one of my deepest passions. Like wrestling has always been a passion of mine because I've always loved it. But just seeing women like me, and even ones who aren't like me, rise and have their opportunity to show how amazing women's wrestling is. It's just always something that I'm passionate about. And if there's any way that I can help propel it forward, then I'm always here for that. And if this show is a part of that, and if this show is introducing people to WoW and all of the above, then that's one of the things that I can ask for. I ask for a lot of things, but if this show is a part of the positivity and the change towards women's wrestling and the progression of it, then I'm happy for it. Then I'm all for it. So, of course, we'll be back. We don't know what day, more than likely. We'll talk about it. But either way, we'll be back next week to talk about the season 3 premiere of WoW because, oh my God, there's so much to be excited about. But of course, Katrina, tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
Just follow me on the characters everywhere the easy three except for Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Like I say this often, but it's literally been a crazy year. Literally, it's been an absolutely insane year on the mom end. It really has been ridiculous, and it feels like I have one more year of craziness as I have another senior again. So it's like I got done with two years, like, oh no, here's one more third in there for a senior, which requires a lot of stuff. Sadly. Not sadly, but sadly as in like mom stuff's just not slowing down. And so I do apologize for I feel like I've been delayed with a lot of things, but just keep on my YouTube channel. The new interview I did do with Coach Campanelli and Crush is on my YouTube channel, so check it out there. They had a lot to say uh, about season 3 going into what we can expect from top tier and how they feel they are the best tag team in professional wrestling. Even if you disagree, this is what they said. I'm just, passing it along. So just go check out my YouTube
Absolutely. And of course, you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and X/Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can also follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast everywhere you get your podcast audio wise. That's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, because I heard that's a thing, and so many other places, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can find a good number of the interviews that we have done, with the WoW superheroes, as well as any other thing that I might have going on. And also read my articles on Daily DDT because a good number of them I've written like 15 now, and it's just crazy. But I'm really proud of my written work, so please, read that. And also read how I really believe Megan Thee Stallion should be the next mainstream star that should get into a WWE ring, and we might be getting closer and closer to it as of Friday, so you just never know. You never know what crazy ideas will actually come into fruition if you just put it out there in the universe, and it seems to be happening, and I'm really glad about that. So, yeah, just read all of my stuff on Daily DDT under my name, Stephanie Hardy. And of course, book your girl if you're interested in color commentary of all kinds, or, just so many other different things. So, of course, this has been Steph and Cat Talk Wow as we wrap up season 2. And we'll see you guys next week sometime for season 3 of WoW Superheroes. And as always, support all forms of women's wrestling on all platforms and on all promotions, but definitely support WoW as they continue to grow as a major promotion. And until next time, bye, y'all.